will be unmuted, and then at the end we'll have a question and answer session. So as you come up with questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and then we'll also take some questions in the chat after the presentation portion is done. So let me just go ahead and pull that up. Just pull participants. Okay, thank you. Okay. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us this morning, and congratulations to all of you and your students. We're very excited for all of you, and we're hoping to be able to see you in person sometime this school year. But in the meantime, we're happy to be able to meet with you here in this virtual setting. So the Parent Association Council of IMSA is also known as the PAC. So what you'll get to know as your children go through the IMSA experience is that IMSA loves this acronym. So we are also part of that acronym. So I would like to introduce myself. I am Maria Tianco Ramos, and I'm part of the executive committee of the PAC. And the executive committee is comprised of the president, the vice president, treasurer, secretary, board member at large, and a sophomore representative. So as I mentioned, I am the president for this upcoming school year, and I'm from Aurora, and I have 3 students at IMSA: Sebastian, who will be a senior, Reese, who will be a junior, Olivia, who is also an incoming sophomore, like your students, and I also have a 7th grader, Ava. And my involvement in PAC has been that I was the vice president for the last half of last year. I was also the Student Life Committee co-chair last year, and I was also a wing parent, regional representative, Friday Fest volunteer, and more. I really enjoyed my time in the PAC, and it's been a great way to get to know other families and get to know more about the schools and see the students there. So hopefully you want to join us as well this year. Okay, next we have the Vice President, Kathy Williams. Kathy, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Hi, Maria. Hello, everyone. Congratulations to those, to the new students. I am, as Maria said, I'm the Vice President of the PAC. I've been involved with PAC now for a couple of years. Last year, I was chair of the Senior Banquet Committee. I live in Aurora. I have a daughter who's a rising senior at IMSA.
Thank you, Kathy. And then our treasurer, Alex Williams. Alex, are you on? Well, Alex is from Normal, Illinois, and he has a student, his child is AJ, who's going to be a senior this year, and this is the first year that he is engaged with the PAC. So we welcome having him here with us. And then our secretary is Kyle, and unfortunately he's not able to join us on the call today, but Kyle is from Springfield. His daughter, Cordelia, will be a junior this year, and he was a sophomore representative last year. So any of you that are interested in being a sophomore representative, he is a great resource for you. And he loved his position so much that he is back again this year. And next we have Aldwin. Aldwin, are you on the call this morning? Aldwin is from Carbondale, and he has a son, Ivan, who will be a senior, and also James, who's also an incoming sophomore. And last year he was a transportation committee chair. So one thing I wanted to show all of you also is that you can be near or far from IMSA and still take part. As you can see, our board is covers a lot of areas. And so what I alluded to a little bit is the sophomore representative position, and that is being member of the executive board. So we would love a parent who is interested in representing the parents of the incoming sophomores, so that we do have the voice of the parents of incoming sophomores on our board. So if you are interested in that position, please email the email. And then if I could ask everyone to make sure you're unmute, we are getting some feedback right now. Thank you. So next, I'd like to introduce the leadership committees. We have various committees, including academics, Fridays and technology, student life, senior banquet, Facebook, hospitality, and transportation. So first, I'd like to introduce the academic committee. And the chairs for that are Moju, Gabriela, and Kathleen. So Moju, are you on the call?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Mm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning, Moju.
So, hi, good morning. This is the academic committee. Our primary purpose is to facilitate the communication and involvement between the administration, faculty, and parents on the academic matters. In our team, we have 3 co-chairs, and my other 2 co-chairs are not able to attend the meeting today, so I'll read through their slides. So my name is Moju Faturachi, and I live in Wheaton, and Wheaton is about 25-30 minutes from the campus. My student is Serena Gasek. She's an incoming junior, and so this is my 2nd year helping with PAC. Last year also I helped with the academic committee, and I'm happy to continue that work this year as well. So we do have a Gmail account that if you want to get in touch with any of us, you can send to this email account. So I have 2 daughters. My older daughter just graduated from high school, and then my younger one is a junior, Serena. My one co-chair is Gabriela Lima. She lives in North Aurora, and her daughter is also an incoming junior, Julia Lima. They just had a year ago alumni, Louisa, that graduated from IMSA. So Gabriela was very involved when her first daughter was going through IMSA with the school and with the PAC, and she's very active, both her and her husband. So she's a great asset to have on this committee as well. And our 3rd member is Kathleen, Dr. Kathleen O'Hare. She lives in Burridge. She also has an incoming junior, Kaylee. And it's the first year that we have Kathleen on PAC, and we're excited to work with her. And this is going to be a great year and a great committee. We're hoping that we could get some really good stuff done. Thank you.
Thank you, Moju.
Sure.
And next, we have our Student Life Committee, and the chairs are Audrey and Maria.
Hi,
So Audrey.
Hi, I'm Audrey, and my husband and I have 3 kids. My daughter graduated this year from IMSA, and we currently have a rising senior, so he's going to be a senior in the fall. We live in Bolingbrook, Illinois, and I guess that's it. Maria, my co-chair, is going to tell you a little bit more about what we do after she introduces herself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. Hi, I'm Maria Drix-Paulson, often known as Other Maria, not although Maria and I served last year on Student Life together, so that was even more confusing. I live in Sugar Grove, Illinois with my family, 4 children. My son Philip will be a rising senior in just a couple of weeks. At IMSA, we live in Sugar Grove, so we're luckily 11 minutes door to door from our house to campus when we're there. And yes, we are in charge, Audrey and I, of the Student Life Committee. So the Student Life Committee, as explained, is it's the committee that works with the Student Affairs Department at IMSA when the students are on campus. So our basic job is to be the connection between the parents and the students and the school itself, the academy. Mostly we work with Dana Gannett in the Student Affairs Office at IMSA, and we facilitate what is called the Wing Parent Program. Many of our current committee members and executive committee members have been wing parents in the past. So we'd love to have you be a part of our committee if you're interested. I know it sounds weird because we say we're supposed to be connecting you with your students when they're at school, on campus, but we are committed to making the best we can with our situation. So if you're interested, our email is down there below. And just real quick, the Wing Parent Program is a program where we assign a parent, hopefully 2 parents per wing, to have cool activities with the students outside of their regular academic activities. So we work with the residence counselors, the RCs at IMSA, and we figure out what's a good day to come over, or we celebrate birthdays with the students, or we come up with activities like making sushi, or painting pumpkins, or carving pumpkins, or other kind of fun activities that go on during the school year on campus. And that's what the wing parents do. Usually we like to have 56 wing parents, again, 2 per wing. And what we'll do between now and hopefully when we're on campus this year is we will train you. We'll talk about things that we can get together to do with our families, and then, or our families at IMSA, and then we'll be ready for the Student Life Committee for what other activities they want us to help with as we are trying to support them through all of this fun new situation we have. That's basically all of us. I just wanted to do 2 quick other notes. In the comments below, or the chats, I am posting our handy list of acronyms and lingo, because once your student goes to IMSA, they'll come home with a whole different set of vocabulary that you won't understand. For example, we're called the PAC, as Maria said earlier, but they have a whole bunch of other acronyms that are confusing and interesting and funny. And so we had our boys and girls who we knew on our committees last year fill out this form for us, and they just made this giant long list of all the questions that we had about why they were calling things with these weird acronyms and names. So hopefully you'll enjoy that lingo. And then the other thing is, further on in our meeting, you'll hear about our regional meetups. And I just wanted to say hi since you have a chance to see me. I am Region 9, in charge of that region. We'll talk about regions a little bit later, also with Kathleen O'Hare. So we have our meetups coming up soon, and we will send you an email about that sometime this weekend. So that's all I have. And Audrey, yes.
Thank you, Maria and Audrey. And yes, that's one thing that you will definitely get used to as your student is in IMSA, are a lot of acronyms. So I did want to also mention is that we do have a document that we'll share later on that has all of these links. So don't feel like you have to feverishly write everything down, because we will have this information for you. So yes, please consider being a wing parent. It is a lot of fun. And it gives you a great reason to be involved in IMSA with your students and get to know some of the other students that are in their wings. So Hospitality Committee, the chair is Svetlana.
Hi everyone, my name is Svetlana Smolkovskaya and I'm a chair of the Hospitality Committee. Here you can see my 2 boys. One is at IMSA, his name is Ari Fishkin, and he is a rising senior or incoming senior. The other one is still too little to be at IMSA, but maybe in the future. So we live in Northbrook, Illinois, and that's about an hour or so on a good day or bad day, depends. So what does my committee do? We certainly do hope that we will be in person at some point. And when we have our PAC meetings, which are monthly, we supply breakfast for that. We also supply food for any kind of events, like if it's a parents' day or if it's a testing day, if it's a parent day, when we do placement testing, any other PAC-sponsored activities, we supply food for. So I do need volunteers to help me with organization of all the food, and I would really appreciate if you guys volunteer. Again, I would like to welcome you to IMSA as well. And I know it's not easy, so I congratulate you and your kids for getting here. We've all been there, 1 or 2 years ago. So welcome and congratulations.
Thanks, Svetlana. And next we have Friday Fest Committee, and the co-chairs for this committee are Robin, Gabriella, and Missy.
Hi, my name is Robin Abend. I live with my husband in Wheaton, which is just about 25 minutes from IMSA. We have 2 boys, and our older son, Kyle, pictured on the right, is a senior this year. Gabriella Lima, who is not on the call this morning, is from North Aurora, very close to IMSA. She has an IMSA alumni that you see here, as well as a rising junior.
Hi, I'm Missy Graff, and in the picture, my who is a rising junior is on the far right. Besides being a part of Friday Fest and then now co-chairing this year, I was also a wing parent as well. So I do highly recommend that to get involved.
So what is Friday Fest? I think you've heard a lot about it already. It's a series of potlucks where parents bring in homemade food from all over the world and serve it to the students in the main building. Now, as the name suggests, these potlucks are typically held on Friday evenings, about 6 times a year. They are a huge hit with the students because it really gives them a break from that traditional cafeteria food, gives them some familiar favorites, as well as some items to try that they might not otherwise have a chance to. Now, because IMSA will be starting the year remotely, our committee is currently on standby. For now, we just want to give you all an overview of what a typical Friday Fest program looks like. And of course, as we learn more about what the return to campus will look like, we'll let you know how Friday Fest shapes up this year. So we like to call Friday Fest the world's largest potluck. And that's because we typically serve over 400 students at each event, which means lots of parents participate either by donating and serving food at the event or coming in to volunteer. It's a great excuse for you to be on campus and to see the interactions of your student, their friends, and to make some amazing connections with other IMSA parents.
I really wanted to highlight that anybody that's a downstater or living quite far away from IMSA, this is a great opportunity to get involved. If you choose to have the Friday Fest weekends be a weekend that you're going to come and pick up your child, you could volunteer at the Friday Fest, meet lots of other parents, serve the kids, just watch how appreciative the students are of having Friday Fest, and then take your child back home. If that's not available to you, there are other ways to get involved. We have signups to provide, say, water or pizzas or maybe some fried rice from local establishments in the Aurora area that you can just order and have delivered right to the Friday Fest. So everybody can be involved. We hope you're one of them. Thank you.
And then in the past, you've also been able to have some groups of parents from downstate that come together and donate food as well, right?
Yes. So
from that sign up Genius that will go in out once we can have Friday Fest on campus, that you can either order water or something from Sam's Club to have be delivered, or you could get, we have a lot of local restaurants that you can pay for even, remotely, and have it be delivered to Friday Fest in your stead. But we do definitely need a lot of volunteers to serve it. So a lot of people are ordering stuff. We need bodies there also to serve it, so the students don't have to volunteer and not participate.
And yes, Maria, we have had instances where a group of parents, let's say from the Peoria area, get together and they send one parent up with a number of dishes, and then that parent serves it on behalf of everyone. So yes, there are parents that get together to help.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Next, we have the Senior Banquet Committee, and that those chair positions are open. So we will have Kathy Williams share a little bit about that, since she was the Senior Banquet Committee chair last year. Kathy? Kathy, are you on mute?
Yes, once again. Hello, everyone. Again, I am Kathy Williams. I was the chair of the Senior Banquet Committee last year. And just to tell you a little bit about the Senior Banquet, it is a really, really good time. It's the last time the seniors are together to relax with friends and family, you know, right before graduation. It's a sit-down dinner. We've already locked in the venue. The venue will be at the Sheridan in Lisle. It occurs the day before, the evening before graduation. So I think graduation's on June 5th, so this will be on June 4th. The theme is chosen by the seniors. It's well attended. It's usually over 600 guests, including the students, and just a really good time, good food. There's always great speakers. The senior banquet almost coordinates itself, but we really need a chair and a co-chair for this. And I've always been asked, and people tell me they want to volunteer, but they're not party planners. Well, I can tell you there is a nice organized play-by-play book that the last banquet co-chairs have, chairs and co-chairs have left to allow for planning. And so it would assist anyone who wants to volunteer. And I will also say with all of these committees that we're asking for volunteers, one of the benefits that I found in volunteering was just being able to meet other parents. And so being a chair or a co-chair of the Senior Banquet Committee, or just volunteer of any of these committees, you will really get to work with the school in certain ways and be able to meet other parents as well. So I think there's a great benefit to volunteering for these committees. So again, we are looking for a chair and a co-chair. The Senior Banquet is usually chaired and co-chaired by sophomore and junior parents. So if you could sign up, that would be great.
Thank you, Kathy. And I also wanted to make some clarification, because I know in the past people have had the question of Senior Banquet, is the prom for IMSA? No, IMSA actually does have a prom for the students, but Senior Banquet is a time where families can celebrate with their student, as Kathy said, the night before graduation. So thank you so much, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Abhijit, who is the chair of Transportation Committee. Abhijit?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Congratulations and welcome to IMSA family. My name is Abhijit Patkar. I live in Peoria, Illinois with my wife and my two sons. My older one, Rajan Patkar, he's a senior this year going into it. And I am the only chair, so I'm definitely looking for a co-chair. That's what you see on the right-hand side, the first bullet. The co-chair responsibilities are gonna be anywhere from going into bidding and getting a bus company contract done, as well as setting a price, collecting the payment, and distributing that payment. So I'm looking for help on that. Now, more about the Transportation Committee. The PAC Transportation Committee, we usually are negotiating on behalf of the PAC and for the parents who want to participate in this service, who live down south, specifically for those 4 cities, but anywhere down south, you can just come to those 4 cities and drop off your kids and pick up your kids from there. This bus service is available for 6 extended weekends typically, depending upon this year how many extended weekends we end up, but there's a schedule on the right side bottom there. We usually run 2 routes. You can see the first route goes to Peoria and then back to IMSA. The other one goes through Bloomington, through Springfield, and down all the way to Fairview Heights. Last year, we had 88 students use this service, and we had about $360 to $675, depending upon how far you live from IMSA. That was the annual cost. Of course, it is prorated, so the cost is going to be less if we end up making less trips this year. We also are looking for volunteers for the stop coordinators. That's the second bullet on the right-hand side you would see. We're talking about a person who can be at these 4 different cities at the stops, making sure that the students are checked off against the list that was sent by the RCs when the kids boarded up in IMSA on the buses. And that's about 10 to 15 minutes time of your investment. So in collectively, 6 weekends, if we were to be there, you're talking about an hour worth of investment of your time. So if you could spare that much, please let us know. There is an address here at the bottom with imsapac@gmail.com. As well, Maria will be sending out an email that will have all the email addresses, so you could reach out to me as well. And definitely think about signing up for a co-chair if you're a sophomore family. And the reason I'm looking for a sophomore family is because I may not be coming back next year. So in that case, I needed this committee to have some continuation there. So that's about us. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhijit. So next we have the Technology Committee, and Guy is unable to join us for this call this morning. So Guy, as he would put it, you've probably become familiar with seeing this picture. His wife is Gabriella, who is a co-chair for a couple of the other committees. He is from North Aurora, and his student at IMSA is Julie Lima, who is a junior, but their other daughter, Louise, graduated 2 years ago and currently attends MIT. So with the Technology Committee, he is looking for co-chairs to help him with some of the technology needs of the PAC. And so if you are interested, I'll be sharing a form later on for those who are interested in signing up to volunteer in any of these committees. And you can also reach out to us at the imsapac@gmail.com if you're interested in being his co-chair, and then we'll get that information forwarded to him. Next, we have the Facebook group moderator, who is Jim Ramos.
Hi all, congratulations too. I'm Jim Ramos, and I'm the person that accepts your Facebook requests. I had also live in Aurora, and my kids are Sebastian, who's going to be a senior, Reese is a junior, Olivia is a incoming sophomore. I've been involved in as moderator for the past 2 years. I also have been a wing parent for the past 2 years, in Friday Fest volunteer for the past 2 years. This is the link which you can access or request participation. There's a couple of questions that are required to join the group.
And most of you probably are in the group already, but if you are not, we will have this link as well. So it's a great way to connect with other families at IMSA. And some people have been able to make arrangements for carpooling or to get to know others in your respective regions that are a little bit closer. And some people have actually used the Facebook group, especially if you live further from IMSA, if you wanted to have an adult that's a little bit closer to IMSA in the cases that, you know, if your child is sick and needs to get picked up from IMSA, to make those connections with other families in the area. So,
yeah.
Okay. So we do have some executive board and chair positions available, as we've discussed in the past speakers, but we are looking for a sophomore representative who is part of the executive board. We also are looking for a senior banquet committee co-chairs, and hospitality committee co-chair, transportation committee co-chair, and technology committee co-chair. So please send an email to us at the imsapac@gmail if you are interested in any of these positions or want to find out more information about the positions as well. And another thing that IMSA does is, because Illinois is such a vast area, they've divided it into 10 regions. So here's a list of the regions. Again, we'll share the link with the different region breakdowns with you. But we are also looking for regional representatives. So regional representatives help out organizing meetups in their regions, and so also serve as a resource to parents in their region. Plus, they can also be a voice for the parents in that region when it comes to representing all of you in our PAC meetings, because we do realize that certain regions may have other needs or wants in seeing some of the different programming from PAC, depending on the region that you all live in. So you probably have already seen the email come out from the school or from the school on behalf of us about regional meetups that will be taking place in the next week or two. And so we're hoping to have you be able to connect with other families in your region so that you can meet others that live close by. Because we do realize that you may be coming from your homeschool and your child may be the only one coming from your homeschool, or just a few people. So this way it'll give you a chance to meet other families that live closer to you and also be able to make that connection. Traditionally, we have a picnic. The regions have picnics this time of year, but obviously we're not able to do that in person. So these meetups will take place of those, but also allow you to have a connection. And also those meetups are for both parents and students. I know a lot of the regions are planning to have some breakout sessions so that the students can connect with one another as well as the parents. So if you're interested in being a regional representative, there's a sign-up form. And again, we'll share the link as well later on. So we do hope that you'll get involved because we do want more than one parent from each region to be regional representatives. So there's definitely room for everybody. So these are the regional meetup dates. You will receive an invitation from your host directly to you with information for your region. Okay. We have had questions about if you are no longer in the region that IMSA had you listed as, you are more than welcome to join a different region meetup. Just let us know. And again, the IMSA PAC at Gmail. That is the default email for us, and then we'll make sure to get your emails forwarded to the correct people. Okay. Also, as many have shared, we have a lot of activities and initiatives in the PAC that we do. We partner with the school on different things, but the only way that things can get done for the PAC is if we have volunteers. And as everybody has shared, and the reason why so many of us come back to volunteer is that it's a really great way to get involved and to connect and to not only meet other parents, but also to be able to see our children at IMSA, but also to get to know some of the other students, some of the other faculty and staff, and also to get to know more about what IMSA is doing. But besides being chair people, there's also great ways to get involved as volunteers. So again, here's a sign-up form, and you can show your interest for, even if you're just interested in one committee or multiple, you can just show your interest in this one form, and again, we'll get that to the appropriate committee chairs for you. Okay. And next we have PAC meetings, and they are held monthly. And when we are in person, we're usually in the N2 space at IMSA, but we also have the virtual piece, so families that are near or far or can't come to campus are still able to be involved in the meetings. While we are remote, we will be holding those meetings via Zoom, and these are the scheduled meeting dates as of right now. Obviously, with things the way they are, they may be subject to change. Usually the meetings are held from 10 to 11:30 a.m. with the general meeting portion being from 10 to 11, and we usually will share updates on things that have been going on with the PAC, as well as other things moving forward with initiatives. And then from 11 to 11:30 is our speaker series. So we usually have representatives from IMSA that come and talk about different topics relating to things from that might be helpful for students and families, as well as anything that might be. We've had a panel where we've had residential counselors, students, and parents come and talk about what life is like as in the residential environment at IMSA. So if there are topics that you would like to see covered in that speaker series, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. So that first date on this calendar is Saturday, September 12th, and that is Parent Day. Usually on Parent Day, we are the first meeting of the day. So as it stands right now, it sounds like we will be still the first meeting of the day, so that time will probably be closer to 8 or 9 a.m. on that meeting date. But specific detailed information will be sent closer to these meeting dates. And this will also be in the document that we'll be sharing at the end of the meeting with you. So feel free to contact us if you have any questions about the PAC or any of the information that we've shared today. Just email us at the imsapac@gmail.com, or if you have suggestions for the PAC. And we'll be sure to get that forwarded to the appropriate people who would be able to help you out. And then also, we do have a website on IMSA's, or portion on IMSA's website, so feel free to visit that. That has the full contact list of all the exec board and the leadership committee as well as a copy of our bylaws and minutes from the past. Okay, so now we will open it up to questions. And so Robin and Missy, do you have any questions from the chat that you would like us to cover?
So I'm noticing that a lot of the questions that have been in the chat regarding wing parents have been answered by Maria Drips Paulson. So we can entertain new questions, and I have a host of questions from some of the RSVPs.
Perfect.
Okay, so while we're waiting for things to come up in the chat, I'll just go ahead and start with some of them that already came through when people RSVP'd for Wednesday and today. So the first question is kind of an academic question. It says, please provide an update on the fall semester prep for remote learning. Will the classes be real-time via Zoom, meaning the students will follow their actual schedules as they would have if they were physically at school? Does anyone know?
So go ahead, Robin.
I was going to say, if the academic committee is, if someone on academic committee is able to answer that, or Maria, you go for it.
Maria, you're more closer to the task force, so you can go ahead and take this.
Okay, so hopefully everyone saw the information they sent out yesterday about the learning remotely. And they are having a town hall on August 5th, which I'm sure they will cover more about how remote learning will look like in the fall. So I encourage everyone to be on that call if you do have questions about how the fall will look like. So as far as the information we've been given is that there will be 4 mods a day. So the classes will look a little different than they are in person in terms of timing, but they are making plans to make it, you know, just as rigorous as if you were on campus. So basically it won't mirror exactly how it is if they were on campus at IMSA, because they do want to be respectful of people's other commitments as their home. It could look a little bit different. But like I said, I encourage everyone to go on that town hall meeting and also to read the information that they sent out in the email yesterday.
Great. Next question, when will we know the results of the wait list? Okay, so we actually have some experience with the wait pool because one of our children was in the wait pool, and so I'm sure that the Academy has been in touch with wait pool parents, and as far as that process goes, but I know for our experience is that really they look at it as people or other students either have chosen to relinquish their spot to fill those spots. So I'm not sure how it is for this year, but I know in the year that we were with that, it could be as up to the first day of school. So basically, have your child prepared, because it could be up to the first day of school, and
if any upperclassmen choose not to return, they usually fill that spot with an incoming sophomore. So, that is constantly changing. But yes, unfortunately, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule as to when exactly that takes place. But just be prepared, because we didn't find out until the week before school started. So we'll send good vibes everybody's way that's in grade school.
I have a really good question here. This was a question that we actually addressed in Wednesday night's meeting, but this is a great time to revisit it. How can parents help ensure that students get the most out of their IMSA experience when attending online? So I asked my son, who is a rising senior, to help come up with the beginning to answer for this. And he reminded me that when he was a sophomore living on campus, he reminded me that typically when the year starts, all students, not just sophomores, but all students are required to remain on campus for the first 2 weeks. They cannot go home on the weekend. And so what that means is that they're looking for to minimize family obligations and to set up a healthy routine for the students to connect with one another and to start their class schedule. So his advice to me, my son's advice to me, and his advice to all parents is to minimize any kind of obligations your student has during the school week, especially during the school day. So if you've got doctor's appointments, try to make sure that those are either scheduled on Wednesdays when they have no class, or if you can push them off till after those first couple of weeks of school, that would be ideal. It's not ideal to pull them out of class for these first couple of weeks to attend doctor's appointments if you can avoid it. And the other thing that he suggested is to minimize some of the family obligations. So reserve chores primarily for weekends, because these students have a lot of studying and a lot of connections they need to make during the week. So to move chores to the weekends and to have those long family sit-down meals on weekends, and try to be quicker during the week so they can get back to their studies. Anybody else have anything to share?
I was just going to jump in also, Robin, from what we talked about on Wednesday. I did put in the chat that my son, Nathaniel Graff, his name's in the chat, says that students really do need to have a Facebook account. I know that a lot of people try to avoid it, but there's 2 or 3 IMSA student groups. There's a student council group and another student group that is a huge way to connect. So if Nathaniel says if any of your students want to friend him on Facebook, then he will help them get plugged in and connected. But a lot of times groups, group opportunities are posted there. And again, being remote, this is a way that your student can start getting plugged into smaller groups. Not only are they going to want to connect with their wing, even though it's virtual, that's a small group, but figure out what clubs and activities they want to be involved with at IMSA. I think there's like nearly 100 different club or activities depending on their personality and bent that they can get with other like-minded students, and again, be forming smaller groups of friends outside of just the school collaboration. But what Robin said as well, Nathaniel last year as a sophomore was, had an orthodontist that was in Chicago, and it was killing me to try to make these monthly appointments. I live an hour away, pick him up at IMSA, drive to Chicago, drive back. Definitely Wednesday afternoons, because unless they changed it, last year lead was Tuesday night, so I couldn't even pick him up Tuesday night for the I-Day Wednesday because he had that in the evening. And then there was like, somebody'd have to say what it was, but there was another class for sophomores only that was like met at 9:30 on Wednesday morning, at least every other week. So it was really hard, where I thought Wednesdays was a time I could schedule. Even that was a conflict. I had to figure out like a Wednesday afternoon, but you definitely don't want them to miss. If they miss a couple of those once a month classes, then they're taking it again next year.
Yeah, and Missy, I wanted to emphasize as well and add to your point regarding Facebook groups. It's not just to meet somebody. a lot of studying is done through Facebook groups. Like a lot of classes, or pretty much all classes, they all form their own study groups. So my son never had a Facebook account before he joined IMSA, and he had to open it up just because everything, like all the communications, is done through Facebook groups. So unfortunately, or fortunately, you have to have your child open the account and have it.
Yes, I would agree with everyone on that, because even though they'll be remote, they probably will have pretty busy schedule still going on. So the biggest difference I would say with the way that they learn with IMSA is a lot of collaboration. So even after classes, you might find that they will still be meeting with others. And also, I'm sure that their RCs will have meetings with them. And for sophomores, there's other things that they have required, which is lead and navigation. So there might be other things that are scheduled for them. So really being able to check in with your student just to make sure what their schedule looks like. Because when they return to being on campus, they'll need to be a lot more independent in keeping, managing their time. So
yeah, if the sophomores were on campus, there is mandatory study hours from 7 to 9 p.m. They have a hard check with their RC, with their residential counselor, to check in, physically see the child, and then they need to go study in their room, doors open. So if the RC walks by, they can see that they truly are sitting at their desk studying, not playing on their phone, from 7 to 9. And that goes until after winter break. And only then can they petition to get out of that if their grades would support. Otherwise, they continue with that. So obviously, it's going to be really hard to mandate that when they're home, but parents need to know this is the general way of IMSA, just to make sure that your student isn't having so much fun and putting academics on the shelf and digging themselves a hole. This is what they found to work. So as much as we can support them, or you can support them in that this sophomore year of getting really good study habits going. My son, I couldn't even really talk to him until like 10 o'clock at night, because he had to eat, he had sports, he had the study hours, he had collaboration, and then we would check in. So it's going to be hard at home, but any way you can support that is what you want to do.
Yeah. And like what Missy said, besides a 7 p.m. check, there's usually a 10 check. So they're usually studying, and this is for all students, but sophomores, like what Missy said, usually 7 to 9 p.m. And the only way they get out of that in second semester is if their grades hold up. And the RCs have access to their grades, so they are checking in with the students. But then usually they have like a little break between 9 and 10 where they can do some social things. And then at 10 o'clock, they have to be back in their wings, and they actually all line up, and the residential counselors kind of take attendance to make sure everybody is where they need to be. So that's like what Missy said, a lot of times it's not until after 10 o'clock that they're available to even check in with parents, if that. So
Caleb had a question in the chat, which is going to tie into a follow-up question that I already have. So Caleb wanted to know, is there a way to know every assignment my son got each day? So I suspect, so we are going on to a new platform called Canvas. This isn't just going to be new for you sophomore parents. This is going to be new for all of us. I suspect we are going to be getting a lot of good training coming up very soon on the parent side of that, the parent portal, if you will, where we can sort of follow along with the assignments that are given. I can tell you that when we moved to remote learning in the spring, IMSA really, really stepped up in a big way and published on a weekly basis all of the assignments that students were expected to do for every class. And that was shared not only with every student on campus, but with every parent. And it was, I will say, it was very helpful for me to know what those assignments were, so that collectively my son and I could make sure that things weren't sort of falling through the cracks. Again, that was different. That's different than the way IMSA normally operates. Prior to COVID, I had very little visibility into his due dates and the assignments. This is a school where the students need to generate their own independence, and they are responsible for their learning. So I do look forward to seeing how Canvas is going to be used as a tool for all of us. But over the course of this sophomore stay at home until we're all back in campus, it's going to be will be helpful for us as parents to also make sure we're giving our students the space to grow their independence as well.
Nancy, there's some questions about the difference in student experience between last year's, well, part of spring in campus and part of spring remote semesters. So with a lot of, and this was addressed in a prior town hall that IMSA had, but because like every school district pretty much had to pivot to remote, they realized that the pivot to remote in spring was not what is typical of the classes that you would find at IMSA, because they didn't have as much time to plan for that. As you all can imagine, some of the classes that require lab work and things like that, it's hard to replicate that experience at home. So because they made their decision in May to start the fall off with remote learning, they've been able to really take the time with their faculty to try to develop a curriculum that is more in line with what classes look like at IMSA. So a lot of these questions that you have for us, families that have been there, as far as what remote learning looks like in the spring, it's probably going to look, you know, pretty different than what we experienced in the spring. So that's kind of why it's hard for us to relay that to you, because we don't know what it will look like in the fall. We know for sure that it will probably be a little bit more intense as far as the time commitment goes versus in the spring, because the faculty and teachers have had more time to put together the curriculum. And I am a member of a subgroup of the transition team that is making sure that the students are set up to succeed when it comes to that, and that the students have the tools that they need and parents have the tools that we need to make sure that remote learning goes well and smoothly and you know, is as equitable as can be for all the students. So I encourage you, if any of you have needs when it comes to technology or any kind of resources, supplies, anything that you might think of that your kids will need to make their environment in the remote learning a little bit more helpful to them, to reach out to the school so that they can help them get all set up.
Yeah, I think
And go ahead.
One thing too that you can take solace in is that IMSA said, what was it, April or early May, we're going to start remote. And some parents were like, isn't that a little premature? Well, now it's looking like genius, because the students and the teachers knew all this whole time. So the teachers have been working this whole time. It's not like, oh, we're going remote and you have 2 weeks. They have been working all, you know, the end of last year and all summer long to have the IMSA standard of education remotely. So I'm sure it's going to be very vibrant, and it's not going to be the same, you know, collaboration is going to look different, but you know, IMSA, if anybody can do it, IMSA can do it successfully and really challenge our students, and our students can still have a great experience until we can get back together. I definitely wouldn't worry about that.
And in my conversation with some of the staff there, you know, about the parents' concerns of whenever it looks like, you know, it's okay to go back to campus, if it would take a lot of time to pivot back, you know, and someone said to me, you know, that's what they know, that's what they do, is the in-person part. So that would not take a lot of, you know, time and effort to do that, because that's how it is over there. But it did, you know, take more time and effort for them to really be able to make sure that they could come up with a remote learning plan that the students and the families of IMSA come to expect and to want for the kids. So just so that you all know that, and the fact that this will be graded. This will be a graded semester, or however long remote learning will be, versus the spring. So.
There's a question here about, and I don't know the answer to this, why students may not share their IMSA email password with their parents. Yeah, I don't have my student's password.
I don't either, but as a parent, you have your own sign-on, so you can still see everything. You just might not be privy to between teacher and student or showing how they turn in their work, but you can still see grades, see attendance, communicate with teachers, get on the directory. It's just you're signing on as a parent instead of them.
I think it's also because they're trying to keep the kids independent. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they go to IMSA. So, I mean, we can't really monitor and micromanage every little thing. So we have access, like Missy says, to everything that we need to have access to. So I think just the communication between the student and the teacher, they probably, and the school itself, that really has nothing to do with us. I think they just want the kids to have that, you know, independence to be able to control that part of the communication process. So it'll be okay.
Yeah. So Deepak has a question in the chat, and he submitted that this question was also submitted earlier about a little bit of concern for the lack of enough teachers to teach higher level courses, especially in math and Spanish, that may be due to budget cuts. And I don't know anything on this realm. Can Audrey or someone on, sorry, not academic committee, or Maria on transition, can you talk about any shifts that may have occurred that I'm not aware of in staffing?
Moju, do you have any updates?
I don't at this time. I'm not aware of changing on that, but it's something that we could make sure that we follow up with the administration and bring back the information for you.
Okay, so I'm going to highlight that as something to submit as a parent question, just to make sure maybe the administration can address it ahead of the curve when they have their town hall meeting on Wednesday. All right, yeah. So I'll add that to sort of our follow-up email to admin. Perfect. Okay.
And according to an email that was sent out, most of the class schedules are scheduled to be released in the next week.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then they are kind of, instead of before there was an add drop that used to take place after classes started, where the kids could add or drop classes. Now they've actually changed the dates a little bit so that students are able to speak with their CAT, which is their college and academic counselors, once they get their schedule, to, you know, if there's anything in there that they might be curious about changing or moving around.
All right. I have another question here that is about health forms. So health forms are due for sophomores to the school and must be dated after May of 2020. And the question is, why is that a requirement when the students are not going to be on campus in the fall? Does anyone know the answer to this?
I don't know the definitive answer to it, but I would imagine that, again, they want to make sure that they have all the information that would have been required if everybody were to be back on campus regularly, so that whenever that happens, everything is ready to go. So that's just what my thoughts are on that, is probably why, so that everything is ready to go.
I would agree with you, Maria. I just think that they don't want people to scramble when we need to go, and if we're gonna go back on campus, they want people to running around like chicken with their head cuts off, just to have everything ready now, and so you don't have to worry about it later.
And I can't remember whether this was the same requirement for us as income when our students were incoming, but of course any student that's entering a school has to present proof of physical health examination and either proof of immunizations or documented exemptions. Now that's governed by the state of Illinois, and there are exclusion policies that go into effect if students are not in compliance with those on the first day of school. But I just am not sure about the May 2020. I think that we could ask the school nurse about why it's has to happen after May of 2020 and not within 12 months. Typically, like when our children became freshmen in high school, they had to have a form that showed within the last 12 months that they had had a physical. But
last year we had gotten a physical in March, but we had the same issue where it had to be after May 1st.
Okay.
That seems to be that year.
Okay.
And so we had to go back to our doctor. She didn't make us do another physical, but fill out the form again with a proper date that they would accept.
Robin, it was the same with us too. Your kid and my kid. It was May. There was a May date for whatever reason.
Okay.
And I think what Maria said is true. I mean, if the kids are not going to be on campus right now, the assumption or the hope is that come springtime, things will change. So I'm sure they don't want you to start trying to figure it out then. And it's usually good for 1 year anyways. So I think that's probably why they're asking for it now, or they just don't want to rock the boat, just keep things the way they were before. Rather than
and the state may be mandating the same of university students, as well as K through 12. I know my K through 12, or my younger son is a K through 12, and he has requirements that he still needs to provide to start school. Okay.
I just also wanted to update on Canvas. I went out on my phone and there's Canvas Parent and Canvas Student. I downloaded Canvas Parent on my phone. I searched Illinois Math and Science Academy, didn't come up, but IMSA did. And then it goes, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can see that on my phone, asking for an IMSA username and password. I put in what I put in for PowerSchool and it did not work. So I'm assuming that we will be given whatever that is and it's just not available yet. But you could at least get maybe the Canvas Parent on your phone to be ready.
I have another question here. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Maria.
No, go ahead.
I have another question about summers. So how are summers planned for IMSA students? Do students participate in classes or in summer internships, typically?
I know I answered this one Wednesday too, sorry. So generally, I didn't think they wanted the students to take classes. They really wanted, because of the collaboration and the style of IMSA, they didn't really want you to go out and do a lot of different things. You already have your freshman year coming in, but they wanted the other 3 years to be at IMSA. But this year, my son's actually taking pre-calculus right now, suggested by his math teacher. It was actually emailed out to everybody. And I believe, again, my personal opinion, it's mainly because there was not going to be any kind of camps on campus this summer like there usually is. Usually they're asking for IMSA students to volunteer and help at the camps and stay on campus and get volunteer hours with great experience. But again, this year, none of that happened. So instead of just sitting at home on your couch, they said, hey, why don't you take a class? So they were very supportive this summer, but you can always ask. You do have to get approval for what class. And in fact, we picked a pre-calculus class from a certain online program, and the math teacher said this does not really align well enough to make up for the class that you're trying to skip here. Do you have another one in mind? So it was our second choice that we ended up finally getting approval on. He's taking that class. He has to then turn in a transcript getting an A or B, no lower than a B, or it won't count. Then he's going to have to, and we're trying to get him wrapped up. I think he's about 92% done now within this next week, so that we have a little cushion to get the transcript to IMSA. And then he has to, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but he has to take a test to prove that he has the proficiency to move on then to the next higher class for this fall. So, and it took at least 2 weeks to get approval. So he didn't even start until into June, even though we started the ball rolling in like early May. So just keep that in the back of your mind. It's not that it's not an option, but you do have to get approval. And I think for next year, if we are together, they're going to say, hey, you know, help with the camps, because those are just super experiences. Kids, and they obviously they need the help, you know.
My student also participated in the summer SIR. I'm not sure if it's going to be available next year. I mean, it depends, but Dr. Don, you'll hear his name from your kids because everybody loves him. He conducts some SIR. He conducts an SIR that is really fully remote. It's with Fermilab. So I would think maybe some of the students will be able to get their own SIRs. So that is something that they can do during the summer as well.
And just, I think SIR stands for Student Independent
Inquiry Research. This is one of the requirements for IMSA students to graduate. Again, you'll be hearing that throughout your child's at IMSA life all the time.
There was another question about do IMSA students do study abroad? In January, when we come back from winter break, there is a 1 week kind of an intensive study before the second semester starts. You can do, like, it could be a fun class. Like, I think on campus last year, they had like cards, like playing different card games. I think there was a group that was supposed to go, well, I think Atlanta was one of them. Definitely some overseas opportunities. It's that 1 week. Our family had already had something else planned, so we ended up doing an independent one where he could study where we were and do his own. That's highly unlikely, but still a possibility if need be. That's really the only study abroad. You're not gonna miss a semester of IMSA to go abroad, because again, IMSA is so unique and with collaboration that you really can't miss and have the IMSA experience.
Yeah, so like what Missy said, they don't do a true study abroad. They may, if they're taking like Spanish or French, like what she said, there's a week between winter break and when they start their classes called intersession, and that's when they do offer those types of experiences. But it isn't where they are truly sitting in a classroom and taking those classes. And then they do have some of those programs where they where they bring in students from other countries as well. So they do have some reciprocal partnerships like that. But like Missy said, it's a very different learning environment in IMSA, so to take time away is a little bit difficult. And I just want to bring up something that a student who already graduated brought up at our picnic last year, which was as parents of incoming sophomores, your student may not be happy sometimes with their placement, especially in math, because they may think that they should have been placed higher. But what this student brought up, because he was placed higher due to his placement test, he actually kind of regretted it, because he said, you know, IMSA will look at the students' scores and really different things, different factors in there, to try to place them in their classes that you feel will be helpful, because they don't want them to kind of miss those pockets of information like what Missy brought up. That's why they're requiring those types of grades, to make sure, because they really, IMSA wants to try to give the students the most opportunity to succeed. So they really don't want to put them in a class where, you know, the student may not know enough to advance. So there are opportunities for sophomores. There's really not a lot of choices as far as being able to select their classes. They do have some requirements they have to do along with that. But as they become upperclassmen, they have some more opportunities in the math and science classes to be able to choose. So just wanted to throw that out there to all of you sophomore parents and your students, that you know, there is a path, and as far as those different classes go.
Someone had asked if there were summer study abroads scheduled, and IMSA does not, to my knowledge, coordinate summer study abroad programs. I think that everything has been answered here in the chat that I'm seeing, and I'm going to double check my list. No, we've addressed everything. And the most important sort of carryovers that we can carry back to admin would be about teachers for higher level courses, and if there's any issues with math or Spanish, and potentially just to reinforce the physical health forms, the due dates for those and things like that.
And I just wanted to again say, because it was talked about quite a bit on the last group, that when the slides are emailed out to you and the links and everything, figure out your region. One of the slides has it by the first 3 digits of your zip code on what region you're in. So I am 60102. You would see on mine, it'll say 601, then region 7. I actually am the liaison for region 7. So I will be reaching out to all region 7 for when our meetup is going to be, which used to be a picnic gathering. Obviously now it's going to be a Zoom meeting, but just so that we can get connected with people that live close. Again, it could be for carpool reasons once we're back on campus, or just so that the kids can, you know, start meeting friends. But that will be coming out. I mean, I'm hoping to send my stuff out today. You do have access through Power School. If you can log into Power School, on the left-hand side, there's a student directory towards the bottom, and it'll list everybody's name and email address, what region they're in. So you can kind of stalk that and start maybe reaching out to people if you want and say, hey, I live by you. It's going to be harder, obviously, to connect when we're not physically connecting, but I know everybody here is committed to helping any way possible. And so if you parents are also committed, I know you are, we all want our kids to get plugged in. We want to meet other parents. So we'll figure this out together. We'll have these meetups, maybe even in smaller groups. We can actually even physically meet up and get to know each other. But those meetings are going to be happening this next week. So please participate if possible. If not, I'm sure we'll make other ones so that we can get connected and get our students connected.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone that's here. And any of the questions regarding when students will be back on campus, again, that's something that the school makes, the academy along with the Board of Trustees are looking at closely when that is safe to do so on campus. And I encourage everyone to go to the town hall meeting on Wednesday, where they'll probably be sharing more information on the rollout for fall remote learning, and then any of those questions that you would like to ask the school directly, feel free to do so in that meeting. And I've also shared the document that has the meeting links from today. We do encourage you to reach out to us. We were all where you are as incoming sophomore parents with lots of questions and what it's, you know, life at IMSA looks like, even though this is a little bit different. You all probably still have the same concerns we did, which is I'm taking my child from my homeschool environment or whatever their current learning environment is that probably looks different than what IMSA looks like. So, you know, feel free to reach out to any of us because we've been there and we've learned from one another. That's also, for me, the best thing about being involved in the PAC was being able to talk to other parents who've been there, done that. Parents of upperclassmen who kind of gave us a heads up when it was time to meet with our son's college and academic counselor for, as a junior, getting ready for college, which a lot of schools don't have as in-depth of a process. So we even had to fill out, you know, a paperwork or essays on that, and so did our son. But they really do try to get to know the kids a little bit more. So those are just some reasons why I think getting involved in the PAC, reaching out to us, like I said, all of us are willing to help find the information for you. If we don't have the answer, we'll try to reach out on your behalf. We will follow up with an email with the recordings of these meetings, and then also with the slide deck and the links, so that any of you that are on the road and weren't able to see it, you'll have that information. If you do not receive an invitation from your region host by Monday, please send us an email at imsapac@gmail.com and we'll forward it to your region host. So with that, I wanted to thank everybody for their time and all the speakers as well. And I hope all of you have a great weekend, and we'll probably be seeing each other in the next few days again. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.